G'day and welcome to what I think is my best video yet. Today I'll be making a replica Punji stick trap straight out of Vietnam. Hope you guys enjoy. This is gonna be fun. So first off, I traced the outline of the punji sticks that I wanted onto the piece of wood that I was going to use. And in doing that, I considered the length because I didn't want the punji sticks to be too long, otherwise they wouldn't really be below ground level, but I also didn't want them to be too short because, well, that wouldn't really have much use. And I also had to think about the depth of the mud that I was going to stick them into. Apart from that, I also thought about how wide they would be so that they would have a sufficient sharpness while also being strong enough. Now this part is a bit long, so the more exciting part's at the back. Feel free to skip ahead a bit. My first option for cutting the piece of wood was to use the normal hand wood saw. That was a mistake. It took me way too long to do even just one. So yeah, just look how much I struggle here. So I decided to do what was smart by switching to the jigsaw and changing my wood to one that was a bit easier to work with. The first issue that I found very quickly was that, well, using a jigsaw causes a lot of vibration and movement, and so it was very hard to make a stable cut, and it was affecting the size of the punji sticks that I was getting. And so I decided to improvise a solution because we didn't have any sort of clamps or something to hold the wood. So I put a few concrete bricks that we had lying around on the other end and hoped that they would be heavy enough to counteract the effect of the jigsaw vibration and me pushing down on the other side of the wood. That helped, but it wasn't completely successful, I'll admit. So I just asked my dad to help and stand on it to make sure that it didn't move and that I was safe. Thanks, Dad. What I got out of it was a few pieces of wood that were long, flat, and definitely not sharp. Not very useful for any sort of combat situation, unless maybe if you're trying to slap your enemy to death. To fix this, I used pliers to, well, make the pieces of wood punji sticks, sharp punji sticks. They were so sharp, in fact, that when I first touched tips, with my finger of course, I actually got a splinter. it would hurt. Eventually, I got this. Some very nice punji sticks. In fact, 8 of them, which is a lucky number. Now that I have my punji sticks, it's time to dig a big hole for them to go into. A lot of digging later, and that's a decent sized hole. Not my biggest hole though. I need the ground to be muddy and soft to put in the punji sticks, just like the muddy terrain in Vietnam. Fire in the hole, and the first one goes in. As you just saw, I did not put the first punji stick nearly deep enough into the mud to stop it from falling over or from moving. And so, I poured more water into the hole, and this time I was smart and used the mud to reinforce my structures. Couldn't resist giving it one last quick whiz to make sure that the mud would really harden when it dried under the sun. I also marinated the sharp tips of the punji sticks in mud, which is something that the Vietnamese did, or even worse, sometimes they used faeces actually, in order to give anyone who stepped on the punji sticks the added risk of death or injury from infections. One of the advantageous tactics that the Vietnamese used for the punji traps was their ability to disguise the punji traps really well, so that people would fall into them a lot easier. Because, gotta be honest, falling into a punji trap on purpose is not really most people's style now, is it? And so I decided to do the same thing and try to make it look like it was just a bunch of cut down leaves, when in fact underneath it's actually a punji trap. All in all, this was a really good learning opportunity for me because I got to do a lot of research about the Vietnam War and the punji stick traps, and I received some vocational education, you could say. I think that my punji trap wouldn't really be able to cause much damage, of course as it's a replica. If you learned from the video, then please don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and also consider sharing it with anyone you think would also benefit from the video. See ya!